Okay, so welcome. Is that too poofy? Okay. My name is Rebecca Connors, and I am honored and excited to introduce local writer Luke O'Neill. But first, I'm going to do some housekeeping notes. I want to thank the sponsors of the Maynard Book Festival, Friends of the Maynard Public Library, and the Maynard Cultural District for their support. In addition, a big thank you to all the volunteers, both here and baking treats behind the scenes. Which reminds me to encourage you to take some refreshments now or after the reading. Please remember to silence your cell phones, and for visitors new to the library, the restroom is out the door to the left and the left. Okay, Luke will be happy to sign books when we are done, and if you don't have a book yet, and you should, the books will be on sale through Silver Unicorn over there. And also Stowe TV is here, and they will be filming this event. Lastly, tomorrow is the final day of the Maynard Book Festival. Check the flyer on your seat for a schedule. We have 4 events tomorrow, including the final event. Jenna Bloom will be here to read from her new book, Murder Your Darlings. Okay. So the world is kind of absurd right now. And whenever I feel like I can't believe what I'm seeing, I turn to Luke's writing because you can bet he has seen it too and has already written about it. His book, We Had It Coming, is a mix of short stories, microfictions, and poems, and it travels from early memories of family vacations to poems jettisoned to the moon, past the moon, to the churning anxiety of being in public spaces now due to, well, everything. His work examines our current conditions in excruciating detail. Writing like this is vital because we need this documentation. We need stories that help us feel not so alone, to ungaslight us, if you will. I was particularly struck by this passage in the point of all this. This probably applies to you, to all of you. People in possession of human souls who have at least on occasion felt the divine in a work of art. Everything I write myself and everything I love to read or listen to or watch as one bedrock component to it, which is this. Jesus Christ, I'm alive right now and you are alive right now, and someday we will not be. But for the duration of this, we are both stupidly and beautifully alive. Please bear witness to my humanity and take some small portion of it for yourself. Return the favor to someone else later when you can. And now I'll read his bio, and then we'll get started. Luke O'Neill is the author of the acclaimed political and literary newsletter, Welcome to Hell World, and the book of the same name. His first collection of short fiction and poetry, A Creature Wanting Form, which is for sale here tonight too, was published in 2023, and the follow-up, We Had It Coming, in November 2025. He is a former writer-at-large for Esquire and was a longtime journalist for the Boston Globe, The Guardian, and many other newspapers and magazines, and he lives here in Massachusetts. Welcome, Luke.
Thank you so much. Is this bad? Let me try. Let me see. Check. Okay, my wife and I, we live here in Maynard, and we're very proud to be part of the community here. We moved here, I think, 6 years ago, a couple weeks ago, and I don't know if you guys remember something called COVID had just started then, and so we didn't get to meet any of our new neighbors for a long time, but we're glad that we eventually got a chance to. And that was all fake too, by the way. It was a plandemic, if you ask me. I'm glad you read that one. That piece that you read from the general. If I could summarize it, it would be like this, and I hope you all agree with me. It's and sorry to the people watching at home. Fuck AI. Fuck AI. Thank you. So I don't know if you're allowed to curse at a library. But if you're not, I'm in trouble. I'm going to read a number of these. They're pretty short. So the book it's a mix of poetry and more traditional short stories. But I'll read some of the shorter ones just so we can keep it moving. This one, I'm going to start out with something light. This one is about being paralyzed by the sudden realization of an indifferent and uncaring God. It's called No New Word. There was a large bird perched atop the tallest tree in your neighborhood, surveilling its domain, and you two couldn't agree on whether or not it was a raptor of some kind or just a run-of-the-mill crow. A flock of smaller birds nearby were agitated over its presence, and yet they circled and circled closer to it, caught in a whirlpool of their own panic. You worried for their safety. The big fella darted down so swiftly after one of them, exploding into the thicket of a nearby bush, and you said, "See, I told you it's hunting something. It's going to get its ass." You picked up a rock and threw it into the leaves and scared them both off. A squirrel that had been minding its own business too. "Why did you do that?" she said, and you said you honestly did not know. You started to wonder if you had saved one bird's life or just starved another bigger bird. You thought maybe this is why God doesn't bother anymore. That one, I usually explain, I had a chance to do a good amount of touring for this book earlier in the year, and I always like to explain the influence to that one is one of my favorite poets and musicians, David Berman, and his album before he died a few years ago, Purple Mountains. There was a song called Margaritas at the Mall, which my wife and I always sing when we go to El Hippo to have margaritas, even though it's not the mall, but you know. And the line that sort of influenced this one is, how long can a world go on under such a subtle God? How long can a world go on with no new word from God? And that, I'm Catholic, so that wasn't the first time that occurred to me, but I think about that one a lot. Okay, this one, this one is sort of the thesis statement of the book. How good we had it. Planes were falling from the sky, and the sky itself was falling. But didn't the driveway still need shoveling? Salt for the icy steps. The kitchen sink full again, too. And every day a new reminder that crying can get you anything you want in the world if it's the right kind of crying. Tears of men weak enough to do grievous harm. I'm told that we can't post our way out of fascism, but they quite literally posted us right into it. Just another one of the many unfair things about posting and fascism. I watched a Family Feud the other night where Steve told one of the teams that they didn't give him the answers on his card beforehand, but he damn well knew what the answers were not. One of two scenarios have presented themselves, which is that everything gets so bad so quickly that a sufficient response becomes inevitable, or else they only get just so bad over time that we can keep putting our duty off until it is no longer ours. I pick up my phone every 5 minutes expecting it to tell me something good about the world, and I thought of a night some friends and I crawled around on all fours looking for crumbs of cocaine that had been accidentally blown off the table into the carpet. I've been asking myself just how it is that a person can go about their day-to-day life at a time like this. And I keep coming back to another question, which is how do we ever convince ourselves we had the right to do so before? The country didn't just get bad a couple of years ago. I usually like to dedicate this one to my dear friends who never stop fighting for us in the Democratic Party. It's called The Rules. I was fighting fascism with the power of love and kindness and just really getting my ass handed to me. It's a total bloodbath. The referee would have stepped in by now, but they had knocked him out with a steel chair. The only others were watching were either fascists themselves or the people trying to fight fascism with the power of love and kindness, and they weren't having a great go of it either. I kept trying to explain in between haymakers that we were better than this, And on top of that, it wasn't likely to be ruled on favorably as far as the courts. None of it helped. I was on my knees now, bleeding profusely from the mouth and nose. It spilled out of me onto the snow in a pattern that, you've sort of squinted at it from the right vantage, looked like a cartoon heart. See that? I pointed. Look how beautiful the world can be, I tried to say through my broken teeth. All right, well, now he was pulling out a gun. I didn't think we were allowed to do that. Gotta follow the rules. This one was written about the children of Gaza, but it could be about children in Iran right now. This is my blood. I marvel at the design of our weapons, so sophisticated that they can transform any man, woman, or child into a terrorist, writing in their flight between launch and concussion an entire alternate history of a life. Just as the cop's bullet convicts you of a crime, its presence in your body evidence enough that it always belonged there. A violent transubstantiation. There's a lot of Catholic damage in here. Maybe that's just me in Massachusetts, I don't know. Let's see what else we got. It's really nice of you all to come out here. This is really, this is a pleasure, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you to the library and the Maynard Book Fest and everybody. It is really very nice to get to meet more people around here and see we have such like a vibrant arts community, and which is one thing I really like about living here. A little far from the city for my taste, but. Sorry, I should have prepared better. Oh, I know what I'll do. I've got a couple new ones I wanted to read.
Oh, nice.
Brand new. Okay, I have a feeling you folks might like this one. Do we want the funny one or the sad one first?
Funny.
Okay, funny one first.
Oh, sad first and then funny?
They're all funny and sad, yeah. Okay, so this one is called What Happened. I think it happening is just something, you know what I'm talking about, right? We all know we want it to happen. Okay. When it happens, it is going to happen this year. You know what I mean. God's will. Naturally, of course. No need to come knocking on my door. I'm chilling at home, and I'll be chilling at home when it happens. Before I go running out into the streets, that is. Shaking the mailman's hand. Kissing nurses and shit. All of a sudden, there's a drum line and a mariachi band and break dancers and fucking David Guetta is DJing on a rooftop. If David Guetta is still around. Maybe we'll even get to watch it live on TV. The first flicker that something is really wrong. Slowing it down and rewinding it after, like when Lisa broke Ralph's heart. The realization in his eyes. The first single moment of self-awareness in 80 years. Like a flailing, panicked deer you've crashed your car into on the side of a snowy mountain pass, the eyes fluttering back and forth. Surely this can't have been it. Perhaps a brief bargaining with God, God saying he's going to pass on the deal. I do not agree with your terms, sir. It's going to be like the Will Smith summertime video out there, everywhere. We're all going to get fired from our jobs for posting. 100% unemployment. One good day. All right, this one is less funny. It's called An Argument. They placed us under blockade and prevented trade with even our closest of neighbors. It was for our own good, they said, a kind of kick in the ass, to jumpstart our thirst for our own freedom, as if the prospect had never occurred to us. Some of us soon took up arms against our own leaders. Such arms as were at hand could be thrown together in haste. That provided the bravest and the most desperate among us with an eternal kind of freedom in short order. Next it came time to receive their always inevitable bombs. For our own good, they said once again. I thought of a time when my father made me smoke an entire pack of cigarettes in front of him, and yet here I sit smoking now. I watched a missile arcing through the night sky toward the town where he is buried, and one of ours snaking upward to embrace it. It was like a sentence scribbled in orange ink in the clouds with an unsteady hand. I had this silly thought about how to prevent them both from ever landing, but I haven't yet learned how to convince you that other people are real. All right, maybe just one more. Let me see.
While you're looking for that, I'll mention that I'm going to ask Luke a few questions after he reads, and then we'll have time probably to take questions from the audience if anyone has anything that they would particularly like to ask.
Just one more real quick one, and then we'll move on. This is another fun one. This one's called Terroir. There's a lot of stories about people being bombed in here because we've been bombing a lot of people. So, sorry to focus on those ones. They had been bombed so frequently by now that even the children had come to know the category of missile by the sound they made as they fell, or the size of the hole they left behind. The sensibility of a sommelier. All right, thank you, everyone. Sorry, it's such an honor.
It's kind of like
My newsletter is called Welcome to Hell World. It's not called Welcome to Fun World.
Fun times. Yeah. Well, I think I wanted to start first by thanking you for coming, and then kind of asking a few questions about writing. Can you give us a bit of background on how long you have been writing? Because from your bio, you've been writing for a long time. You started in journalism, perhaps, but
I'm only 25 years old, so.
Oh yeah, of course.
No, actually, that's about how long I've been writing.
Okay.
I started. But my goal when I was young, I wanted to write short stories and poems, or be a music journalist. And I went to school to do an MFA in poetry. And this was in the early 2000s. And then I got a job at the Weekly Dig, which was the alternative weekly at the time. I was like, okay, well, I guess this decision was made for me. I'm going to be a music journalist. And back then, you could never make a living as a poet.
I know.
As I'm sure many people know. But back then, you could still kind of make a living as a music journalist. You can't make a living as a music journalist anymore. So I did that, and then I sort of slowly climbed the ladder and wrote for Glow many times, and then got a job at Esquire and wrote there for years, and The Guardian for years. And about 7 years ago, I don't know if this could be surprising based on my politics, but you can't really keep a job that long at a liberal institution newspaper if you're a socialist. So I either got fired or quit in anger from every single one of those newspapers and magazines. And about 7 years ago, I said it was just the newsletter thing, which is everywhere now, hadn't really kicked off yet. And so I thought I'd try it, and for some reason, it really took off my newsletter, Welcome to Hell World. And before long, I was making a living at it and making more money than I ever would have at freelance. And the thing about it was I got to do whatever, I got to write about whatever I wanted. I didn't have to ask permission. I didn't have to temper my language. And this was very important to me. I didn't have to write both sides,
Yeah.
which you have to do if you write for the Globe. Write for the, yeah, this fucking microphone sucks. If you write for someplace like the Globe, you don't actually write both sides. You write, the center right side. It turns out there's an audience for journalism that doesn't like you. And one of the decisions I made early on was to write it in this sort of languorous, poetic fashion. So it was reporting and journalism, but I was writing it as if it was a poem in a way, and that really seemed to take off. So that's where it brought me to this, and then the book sort of came out of that. Yeah.
Because it seems like, there's a strong lyricism in your work, so it definitely, I could tell that you have like poetry in sensibility in that. And I think it's really amazing to read work that is journalistic and also emotionally resonant and like touching.
Yeah, that's I'm not saying I invented that sort of thing, but it wasn't that common, years ago. And the best thing for me now is that I've gotten a chance that the newsletter has gotten bigger. I hire people regularly all the time. I get to hire freelancers and pay them decently. And like the dream is for me, it's like being an editor is you're a good writer. Why don't you just write about whatever you're interested in? And it doesn't have to fit the news cycle. Yeah. It could just be it could be about a movie from 20 years ago. It could be, so I really feel like in a lot of ways I won the lottery. Mm-hmm. But then again, I was sending me my royalty statements today, and I was like, fuck. The newsletter does very well, but it's not that easy selling, getting a bestseller with like leftist poetry journalism.
Understood.
Thankfully, my beloved wife is a teacher, so we get that good Massachusetts health insurance.
Yeah. No, that I was just thinking about the current media landscape and how it is so. It must seem so lovely to be able to write something about something that happened maybe 2 years ago, because everything is always so quick and moving forward and we forget things. And I think that's one thing I really like is how there's an attention to events, and they don't have to be something that just happened. It can be something that happened, but there's a depth to that.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah, 100%.
I was going to ask, with the popularity of your newsletter and the writing and editing that it requires, how do you find time to do the creative writing? You just pulled up some stuff on your phone, so apparently,
it's some work takes. I think it's. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
As Patrick knows, I used to sing in sort of punk rock bands, and
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to cup it over. Oh, this is what I used to do. Is that better? That's not what my band was like. Now I forgot the question. Oh, wait. What?
Like the balance between journalistic and creative writing.
It's actually, it kind of sucks because since I do work for myself and I'm my own boss, I spend a lot of time at home, and you may or may not be able to glean this from my work, but I tend to brood a little bit. So I get super excited when somebody turns in a piece and I have to edit it, and I can feel like an actual person of the world. Like being like a poet or a short story writer is kind of a fake job. We all know that. If you're not a writer, you suspect that.
Yeah.
But it's true. But you constantly have to, every single thing you do, like I'm writing a story about this right now in my brain as we're doing it, you know? And I'm like specifically going to focus on the one weird looking person in here. Who is it about? Just kidding.
No, I mean,
I can't see, I don't have my glasses on. I can't see anybody.
well, no, I think that was one thing I noticed is like when I was reading, like the mention of Planet Fitness and the mention of how hot it was the day after the election.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I remember that day because I too walked around the neighborhood in this like very unwieldy, humid November.
Yeah,
night.
yeah. The day after the election was so hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I mean, a lot of these are set in Maynard. I don't know if that makes you want to buy it anymore, but
But I was. Well, I think also that's what I was going to ask about your press because did you work with the same editor?
yeah, different. It was a different editor, but I work with a publisher called OR Books in New York, and they're very cool, like lefty indie publisher, and they do tons of people that I admire, and some people I don't. But yeah, but that's how I can't really go demanding they stop work with Matt Taibbi, for example.
Oh.
No, but there's tons of great socialist and communist writers. Mike Davis, they did a lot of stuff with the late Mike Davis. But they're very good to me because they kind of just let me do my thing, and I'm very lucky to have that.
Yeah.
But like I said, it doesn't come with the $100,000 advance or whatever. But I don't know if anyone gets that anymore if you're not a superstar.
Yeah, I think you have to be.
Or like a shitty politician who
Yeah.
has a ghostwritten book.
Who writes 5 memoirs in
Yeah.
3 years or something.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, when did you start writing this collection? Because, like I said, it seems very current.
Some of them, I mean, some of them are for a few years ago. Like the way I do it, maybe this is doing the weeds. I don't know if anyone gives a shit. When I write the newsletter, I'll send it out, and then when it comes to write a book, I'll go back through the different issues and pull out like, oh, that was a good turn of phrase. That was an interesting paragraph, and I'll pull it up and then try to build something around that.
Okay.
And then some of them, there's like one in here about the No King's March from like maybe a year ago
1 year ago,
exactly.
yeah.
So this came out in November, and I turned it in May or whenever that was. So I wanted it to be timeless in a way, but I also wanted to reflect like what is happening right now. So
Yeah. So I guess that answers my own question of like, did you think of it as a collection when you began, or did you write and then kind of bring it together? But it sounds like you kind of mind your own journals, so to speak.
yeah, it is. It's just like a public journal, and another thing I do is I if any of you, I used to be, I'm not on Twitter anymore, but I used to be like a super Twitter guy. But now I'm more of I'm on Blue Sky a lot, and I post way too much, and I'm sorry if you follow me. But those little nuggets of genius that I churn out for free. So, but you go back and like, oh, that was a pretty good joke, and you try to.
No, I think with my writing, sometimes I set it aside and forget about it, and like while I might have hated it when I write it, like 6 months later, I'm like, ooh,
yeah,
how smart was I?
It's like a present for yourself, or else setting a trap for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say when I read your work, I often find myself thinking like, yes, that's exactly how it is. That's exactly how I feel. And knowing how I feel, which is a lot of rage and frustration and futility and grief, I wonder how you keep going. Because this is your livelihood, but also like, do you get breaks?
I mean, every now and again, I don't know. Ask my wife. She's she'd say no. I'm extremely mentally unwell.
Okay.
Cope very badly. I drink too much. I chain smoke and go to Planet Fitness every day. So
Yes.
those are my.
Yeah.
It's an odd cocktail.
But yeah, it's like both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing well at all.
You like
So.
push yourself healthy this way and then kind of take it
Yeah,
down and then you
it's
go
like
back.
it's kind of like a speedball. You lift weights, drink.
Yeah,
some-
no, because I feel like that is something that a lot of people who witness and have the job of witnessing, like we didn't really think about them as much before. We're like, oh, thank you so much for sharing this horrific thing that you witnessed. But now I'm like, as someone who feels those things, I'm like, it's important to respect that and understand and like.
Yeah, you can't. But you can't. I mean, the important thing is people who are. I'm lucky to have a fortunate life at the moment. I've suffered in a lot of ways before, but the people who are actually suffering, it's like that's where the focus should be. But
For sure.
but it's I don't know. I believe that we all deserve better than this, and
Exactly.
I believe that the world deserves better from us as a country. And I'm just trying to convince 5 people at a time that that's something that can actually happen. And the one thing I find is that people don't want to, like, they sort of stunt their own imagination when it comes to imagining a better world. And this is something I write about a lot. They'd be like, well, that can't happen. We can't do that. It's like, why not? Like, why are you already negotiating against yourself in your own imagination about what the world can be?
Yeah.
So I think that's just, if anything you can take away from this, I would just say that a better world is possible, and you don't have to cut yourself off before you start wanting that. The first step is wanting it. So
Yeah, because I mean, to say that like what is existing right now is someone's imagination. It's just not an imagination that I agree with,
Right.
And so like they imagined it and made it possible. So why can't we?
Exactly.
And so that's what I think about, like having a positive, having a vision of what you want, and I think that's where we get stuck a lot of times.
I know.
A lot. Okay, I don't think I have any more questions, really. I mean, it's just.
No, that's great. Yeah, people. It's probably. I think I've made myself clear here.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I need to really dig more into this. But does anyone here have any questions for Luke? Oh, I see. Okay, I feel like I'm like
Watch for that
Jesse
truck.
Raphael here. You don't need a microphone, but I'm going to give it to her.
Do I look like I need a microphone? I probably do. One thing I've noticed in your writing, just from the few things that I've read, admittedly, my husband is a big fan of yours, and I just came along for the ride tonight. But I'm super impressed with what you shared with us. All of the best writers are wonderful readers, and I'm curious about who some of your favorite authors and influences are.
Oh, that's always tough to say. Whenever they ask me that, I always defer back to like. It's like when you ask people who their favorite bands are, it goes back to those earliest ones that really taught you how to love music. So for me, in this case, and if anyone is familiar with them, you might think, oh, that's who he's ripping off. But Donald Bartlemy was a really big influence on me when I was young. Also, Virginia Woolf was sort of influenced. If any of you haven't, I don't know, most of you probably haven't read it yet, but there's like no punctuation in the book, and it's all run-on sentences, which makes it hard to sort of read out loud. But those were the two that I always refer to, the sort of lyricism of Virginia Woolf, and from Donald Bartlemy, the sort of the humor of the absurdity of, like, the modern condition. So those would be my 2 big ones. This
Sir?
young man over here.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
My girlfriend Morgan and I are trying to find a gym to go to. I'm going to tour Anytime Fitness. But then I hear about this Planet Fitness stuff. Real quick, what's it take? 2 seconds.
I like the Planet Fitness in Maynard. I like the Planet Fitness in Maynard, but there's one problem with it, is it's right next to the high school. So there's too many fucking kids. They all stand around the machines bullshitting and playing grab ass. The fuck out of here. I respect the kids, though, and hopefully they'll have a nice life.
I think, as someone who also is a member of Planet Fitness, though not as dedicated in any way as Luke, I can't really go anymore because of the TVs. because I can't, it's just like all the TVs are all like horrible news just running right in front of my face, and my heart rate goes up, and I'm like, this isn't the exercise. This is like the oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't like seeing the Fox News, but I don't really love CNN either. But there's a story in here about a woman on a treadmill at Planet Fitness when the end of the world happens, and all the TVs change to the end of the world, except for one down the end, and it still has Pat McAfee and Aaron Rodgers. It's like even the end of the world can't rid us of these fucking men. It's like the ESPN talking heads.
Yes, yes. Any other questions?
There we go. Yeah.
Do you want the mic or do you want to yell?
I wanted to ask about I wanted to ask about the cover of the book, because it's sort of immediately jarring with the title and the picture, and what it makes me think of is sort of this idea of white American innocence, and like the title of the book kind of shoots this dagger right at it. And I wanted to know if you had some thoughts about
Oh, I appreciate that reading of it. Yeah, the We Had It Coming, the title, I think, you can all probably glean something from what I mean by that, based on my opinion of how much war we export around the world, and, what we're living through now may be our just rewards in a way. But this actually happens to be me, a cute little boy, and my sister and my grandmother. And my grandmother looms large with this and everything. One of those Massachusetts grandmothers who ruins everyone's life, but you all nonetheless love her so much, And this was taken in Round Pond, Maine, which is like one of the centerpiece stories. But I do like that interpretation. I hadn't thought of that connection to it. Perhaps because I can't perceive my own whiteness, But yeah, that really works.
Thank you. Oh, in the back. Okay. Okay. So I don't have to climb over that.
Thanks a lot for.
If you're willing, can you tell us a little bit more about your writing practice? Some of the details, like, do you write every day?
Yeah, sure.
How long? What does that look like?
Yeah. My ideal sweet spot is when I wake up and have coffee and a few cigarettes, and I'm usually going to know within like a half hour or not if it's going to be a day. Like if you get going, and sometimes like okay, I'm getting to a flow here. Right for a couple hours. Put it down, do my stuff, and then come back in the evening and I'll have a drink. And once I have one drink, there's like a timer is set, like there's like 45 minutes. Like, okay, when you're in that kind of nice drinking spot, and then like the second one, it's like, oh, I don't want to write anymore. So I got to kind of squeeze that in. I drink too much, sorry. And so it's usually a couple hours in the morning, and then maybe like an hour in the evening, and then the sweet spot is like late at night, maybe 9 o'clock, after I've smoked for a while. Then I go back in, and so it's like, this isn't like a healthy for the body, but I find like you write sober for a bit, you write drunk for a bit, then you write stoned for a bit, and then the next day you edit sober. So that's basically it. There's no young people here, so that's fine. Don't do it. I don't think kids watch.
No. But yeah. Are there any other questions?
Yeah. You just talk. I can hear you.
Yeah, I guess to kind of pick up what you were talking about just now. Have you always found it this easy, or it seems easy, to be as kind of honest about yourself in your work? as it's in to let your personality kind of carry that, into your, reportage and also like the poetry and stuff, or is that something that kind of build over time? Because I feel like there's something, as a fellow masshole, I feel like that's not always something that comes naturally
Yeah.
in our makeup.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of keeping shit inside.
Yeah.
But that was sort of that was the turning point for me when I started to do that. Like I said, I used to write for the newspaper and stuff, and you can't be writing a story for the Globe and then all of a sudden interject like, oh, I'm kind of hungover today, and I'm sad about my dead father. Like they don't let you do that. But when you're in charge of your own thing, you can do that, and it turns out people like that shit. Or you can be like, well, I hate myself because I ate an extra slice of pizza or something. You know what I mean? Which I tend to write about a lot. So it really is very freeing, and I really relish the ability to do that. And I think it resonates with people. Especially because like most journalists that we all know of and are famous and everything, have this image of being put together and like professional TV, and I come from indie rock and punk rock and stuff like that in Boston, and we're all massholes, and we're kind of loud, and we swear a lot, and we drink too much maybe, and I think that sort of resonates with people. It's like, and if you don't like it, you think you're fucking better than me.
No, actually, that just kind of made me think about how like our media landscape is so coiffed and perfect, and they only say a certain amount because there's just such a like hold on like reputation in a way. Like they don't dare ever say, and I think I sometimes have that like I want to scream, like screaming at the TV, because I'm like, why aren't you asking the question that you should be asking?
Right.
You're a freaking journalist.
It's vanity.
Yeah, and so to be able to just write what you're thinking, and I think that's why people resonate. What resonates with people, because we're all so kind of tired of.
They are. And I'm going to say what I'm thinking right now is these people are sick of hearing my bullshit, so let's fucking stop. You're all dismissed.
That's fine with me. So Luke will be signing books. You can get them over at the table from Silver Unicorn. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This is so nice. Don't